Welcome to the Film Garage 208 podcast, the podcast that celebrates the ingenuity and artistic flair of small business owners. In each episode, we dive into the stories of creative entrepreneurs who have successfully blended their passion for artistry with the challenges of running a business. A mouthful. But I think it's a great conversation to talk about. There's so many different businesses and different avenues that people have gone down. We have Lorin here with us today. I've actually known Lorin a long time. On the calendar here. I realized it was like over 10 years actually from high school.
I know.
So I know Lorin from high school days. I would see her around ISU going to the dental hygiene program. Yep. And I remember when you got married and had your baby, your first baby.
That's nuts.
And now we're back here.
And now here we
years
are.
and years later. What are you up to? What are you doing?
So I have a piercing business.
Okay.
It's called Get Pierced. And I've been doing that for about a year. So I'm just like full time with that, pretty much between like in the studio and then at home.
Piercing.
Because there's so much stuff behind the scenes that I have to do. So do that. I'm not doing dental hygiene anymore. I have my license still, but I'm not practicing hygiene. And I love not practicing hygiene.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And I take care of my 3 kids.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what made you step out of the dental hygiene career and do piercing?
Yeah. So it was it kind of happened really fast actually, because so last year, like May of 2022, I was feeling super burned out of hygiene. But I was never going to quit hygiene. Like we needed my income at that time. I was never going to be like, okay, well, I'm just done doing hygiene. But I definitely felt burnt out between that and just being a mom. Yeah. And I just felt like my life was so redundant.
That's a lot.
Just the same thing. I mean, I only worked 2 days a week in hygiene, so it's not like I was working full time. But I just felt like it was so redundant, just the same thing every week. And I was so bored. And I wasn't actively trying to change that. I would look for, sometimes like work from home jobs.
Like a casual scroll on
but
Google.
There's like nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that I was like, okay, I'm going to pursue that and I'm going to make more money than hygiene.
That's worth it.
Yes, because I wasn't going to. And so one day, it was like June of last year, I was on social media and some influencers that I follow from Utah were at a piercing party.
Okay.
And I was like, what is a piercing party?
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody like going to a party and like having somebody come in and do piercings. And I was like, that sounds cool. And so I started looking into it and looking at the girls that were doing it and the company that was doing it. And it was, they were doing it with a gun though, like a piercing gun.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd been getting piercings for years. And all my piercings had been done by needles, pretty much, except for like when you do it with your friends.
Or
like your friends, you like go buy guns and like do it at home. But I knew piercing with a needle was better. And plus this company, they only train licensed cosmetologists. So I was like, oh, that's weird. I guess I'm not going to pursue like trying to get trained by them because it sparked my interest in doing it. And so then I started researching different hashtags. So I like went from Utah piercer, Utah hollow needle piercing. And I was really mainly looking in Utah because that's all there was at the time. There wasn't really anything around here that I could look at, like any other accounts. And so then I started messaging some of the girls that were doing hollow needle piercing in Utah and seeing how they got into it. And then from there, I looked at what our laws were.
Yeah, important.
Yes. And then when I was like, oh, there's pretty much no laws.
Great.
Live in Idaho. Which is really sad. And I was like, I can do this. And so from finding out about that and to booking a course in Utah, it was like 48 hours.
Interesting. Yeah. So they actually have a class you could go there and take to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not a freelance piercer.
No, I went and took a course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, for someone who doesn't know anything about piercing or hollow point needles.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Okay. So a piercing gun.
Because hollow point needles sounds way more painful.
And you would think that.
Scary.
You would think that. Yeah. I totally get that. So a piercing gun is just a sharp earring that's loaded into, it's like spring loaded pretty much. So they're going to hold the earring above your ear, like a dot that they made, and they're just going to shoot an earring into your ear. the difference between that and a needle is the gun earring is just not nearly as sharp as a needle. So if you think about how clean the wound is with a needle versus like a blunt earring, a needle is much less traumatic, even though it's a lot sharper. It just makes a clean wound, a clean cut, versus a blunt earring that's just being shot into the tissue, especially the cartilage. It kind of shatters the cartilage.
Yeah.
If that
So
makes
it's probably
sense.
like less infections,
Yes.
just a whole cleaner result in the end overall.
Yeah, there's so many other reasons. I mean, the guns can't be sterilized. So there's, you know, that aspect of it. And you can't aim as well with a gun as you can with a needle.
I've got a botched ear from my 8-year-old ear gun piercing.
I know. It's just really precise with a needle.
Yeah.
What else? I have a whole thing about it
I
on my
pierced
Instagram.
my friend's ear once back in like 6th grade. He just really wanted them. Didn't want to go pay. So he was like, here, got this diamond earring I got from Claire's. So we just pushed it through.
An earring?
An earring.
Just
They're sharp. They're sharp.
Just straight
but
through
just
the
not-
ear.
Yeah.
But I didn't know like the cartilage was in there and it popped and everything. And I freaked out when I heard it. So I stopped like halfway through. This poor kid. I was like, oh my God, what is this? It just popped. And he was like, no, finish it. So I mean, we did it. We
You were
pushed it
committed.
through. But I was like, never again.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to do the other ear. I was like, no. I don't know who he found to
so
do
funny.
it. I didn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
It's like, no way, I was
wouldn't
scarred.
either. There's just
Not
there's
for me.
there's so many disadvantages to using a piercing gun versus a hollow needle.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I go into a lot on my Instagram, like just like educating people about
Yeah.
that. But the biggest thing I educate about is like sterilization and infection control. And so that's one huge difference between using a gun versus a needle. So
That sounds like it's worth it.
it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Much better healing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you saw piercing, you're like, I can do that. I can pierce someone.
Yes. But in dental hygiene, I mean, I'd been using needles.
Okay, that's
giving
right.
people shots in their mouth for like
Okay.
7 years.
That's
That's
a good
like
point.
nothing
That's
for
a
you
good
then.
point.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, the risks of doing that.
I forgot about the shots. and
Yes.
okay.
So the risks of doing that are 10 times higher than doing anything to your ears. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? As far as like, you could mess something up in somebody's mouth.
For sure.
You could mess up a piercing, I guess, but you could just take it out if you want, you
Yeah,
know?
get it, yeah.
So anyway, so needles didn't freak me out. Blood doesn't freak me out. Had a strong knowledge in sterilization already. And so there was just a lot of crossover between the two. So
Yeah.
that's why I felt confident that I could do it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you got into this, did you have to like bring this whole idea here? Because you said it was in Utah and popular in Utah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Well, okay.
they already were aware of piercing parties here.
Yes. There was a couple girls that were doing it that I found in
Okay.
a different town that were doing it, but one of them wasn't really like pursuing it very much. So it's not like I was the first one is what I'm saying. Like there was others. But I think I just like, I tell my husband with everything, I'm like, whoever has the best marketing, right, is going to be successful.
Yeah.
And not necessarily beat out the other person or anything like that.
No.
But just if you have good marketing, then you should be successful.
Yeah,
Theoretically.
so I guess
Yeah.
speaking of marketing,
Theoretically.
what are you doing for your marketing? What is your main game plan here?
Okay, well, I feel like I'm not an expert on marketing by any means. And my social media and everything and my following has kind of just like happened. I haven't really done anything like extremely strategically, in my opinion. But I think because it's such like a new thing and like a trendy thing, I think that's why, versus like something like lashes or hair or you know what I mean, like
that we've
something
been doing for a little bit.
long time that people, they already follow a lot of accounts like that, so it's kind of a newer thing. But for marketing, I do some sponsored ads just on Instagram.
Okay.
I make like generic like graphics in Canva, things like that, but nothing crazy. One thing that is the most successful thing I've done for marketing is giveaways just with myself.
Okay.
It's
you.
just me. It's
Okay.
just, giving away like a piercing party or like certain amount of ear styling or something like that.
Yeah.
And people go crazy over that. It's so funny versus like being in a big giveaway with other people.
You kind of
Yeah.
get lost in the noise of
They-
everyone
yes,
else's
They
stuff.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But that's
That's
a
what I
cool thing. I could see people really
Yeah.
getting excited for that.
They do. And I didn't know that would be, I was like, I'll just try it. So that's where like, when I get like a big jump in followers, not that I have like a crazy amount of followers. Okay. It's like 4,000. I'm not saying that, but like when I've gotten big jumps in followers, it's usually from those giveaways.
Yeah.
So
good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Sell yourself.
Really though. Like people don't want to go follow 50 accounts.
No, I agree though.
You know, because you're not going to enter that, are you?
Could be tedious.
No. Yes.
I personally know.
No.
I pass it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, thanks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. So what does a piercing party look like? Walk us through it.
So I don't really do a lot of piercing parties. So it's funny because that's how I found out about piercing, but I don't really do a lot of piercing parties. I've done a few events,
Okay.
but piercing parties are so involved in the amount of supplies that you have to take that
Yeah.
it's just not worth
The
it to me.
setup and
So
all of that.
I will have parties come to me. Like if
There you
a
go.
girls' night wants to come to me, then I will set aside a night, have them all come in and just have a little night, and then they can go do their own thing after, kind of a thing.
I see.
The other issue with that is just from like a cleanliness and infection control
Yeah.
standpoint. I don't feel comfortable like going into somebody's home. I don't know if it's clean. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a little bit harder to want to do something like that in somebody else's home.
Yeah.
And when I say clean and like infection control, it's because like you're dealing with blood
Yeah.
with piercing.
And
There is a
needles.
little bit of blood and needles.
Yeah.
Yes. So there is a risk with that. Even events I'm pretty hesitant to do, but I did a huge event with Wally cases. Do you know Wally cases?
I think I saw that. I think I saw it on your Instagram.
It was really cool.
That's super
And so
cool.
I was like, I'm doing it. Like it's worth it to take all my stuff down
They
to Utah.
invite you and
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
How many
So-
people did you pierce?
Okay, so I think I only pierced 25 or 30 people. The people that were putting on the event, they let everybody get one piercing or they could get jewelry. So they could pick whatever they wanted. Like they were paying for everybody to get
Okay.
what they wanted. So the people that I didn't have time to pierce, they got jewelry. They just
Okay.
picked some earrings or whatever they wanted.
Or
So
they just got the Claire gun.
yeah, yeah.
I don't have time for you.
Yeah. They're like, I'm going somewhere else. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just because it's really hard to go through that many people because it takes a significant
like
amount of
cleanup
time
between each
yes,
thing and-
there's a lot of cleanup.
So many gloves.
So many gloves.
I've always wondered how tattoo artists do that. Like
Same,
the tattoo
yeah.
parties, because it's got to be the same situation.
Same thing. Yeah. And you can't go fast. That's the thing, because who
Yeah.
wants their piercer or their tattoo artist to go really fast and just like fly
Right.
through just to get through all these people at a party, because that's your name on that.
Like even if
that's
it is a
gonna
flash
look good.
tattoo, it's still,
A tattoo.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still permanent.
Yes. So with parties, I don't do I'm just really selective on what I do, but have most people come to me. So
That seems just better overall for everyone.
It is. Yeah. Mainly because but I'm like from a selfish standpoint, kind of like I make the same money in the salon that I would at a party.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just have them come there and not haul
100%.
my stuff there.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
It's like with the studio too.
exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
Add on your fee for doing it there.
it's like I can pack it all up and take
yes,
it with
I guess
me.
I could. I
Yeah.
guess that's
Like a
something
travel
that you
fee.
could do. You could say, okay, like this is I have a $200 fee to come to you,
Yeah.
plus all of your piercings. But then, for the most part, people would probably still just want to come to me for
Yeah.
that, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I usually do.
I was going to say, speaking of tattoos, it
Yeah.
might have been on your Instagram or something the other day. I think you shared a story and it was a person talking about like not getting tattoos, but it was like piercings was their thing.
Did I see that?
It might have been. It was like,
I don't know.
that was their thing since they're not like a big tattoo person. They were like, but look at all of my
piercings. Yes, yes. So like tattooing, is a form of self-expression,
Yeah.
right? People do feel the same way about piercings sometimes in that aspect. I have so many people that come in and they're like, getting piercings is so addictive. That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
So like they get one and they're like, this is so addictive. I'm going to be back to get more. And I mean, I kind of agree. Like I have 8, which is not like a crazy amount, but kind of a lot.
Yeah.
But I think people are more likely to get piercings over a tattoo if they were between the two, because piercings aren't necessarily permanent, right? So they can take
That's a good point.
those out. Like if some people may not want to commit
that.
to a tattoo,
Yeah, it's
even
a
though they
little
are
cheaper
so
too.
different in each, like they're so different.
it is
but
different.
If somebody wants to do something like body art they're probably more likely to get a piercing before a tattoo. Piercing's like the gateway.
Yeah.
Right.
So has there been like changes in piercings of like types of piercings you can get that's made it become more popular, or is it just popular because it's kind of just something no one really paid attention to as like a party or niche that you are now until?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, it's definitely a trend. Okay. So I feel like who knows how long it's going to be so trendy. People have been getting piercings forever, but I feel like we do kind of follow Utah in, you know, we're kind of behind Utah.
Trickle behind
because
there.
we're similar cultures.
Sure. What
between
happens there
Utah.
will happen here.
Yes.
Eventually.
Very similar. People have been getting piercings forever, but like if you go to a tattoo shop, maybe not the cutest jewelry. Okay. So it hasn't been something that like they're posting about in like a stylish
For sure.
way. But then I also have seen kind of like a shift religiously in the area. People that like maybe before weren't getting piercings like due to religious reasons or religious beliefs
Yeah.
are kind of changing that
It's
mindset.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And so that's been kind of huge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
been like really big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty
that's cool
though.
for people. I mean, hopefully
It's
they're finally
awesome.
getting these things that they
Have
always wanted. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I waited years to get these. Like I wanted them so bad. But then I think it's just kind of cool. Like people are kind of like accepting
Breaking
like,
the mold a little bit.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Cool. We'll keep that going.
Yes.
I like that. Okay. So one thing is like pricing.
This one too.
Oh yes. Pricing.
So how do you price yourself
So
with this market?
I know. And you'd be shocked that people will drop some money on jewelry and piercings. It's really crazy. Like that the amount of money that
I
people
see
will
it.
pay for that, but won't pay for something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's so expensive. But then they'll come in and drop $200 on stuff. And I'm like, that's so much money.
Yeah.
So you sell the jewelry
But-
also.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But when I initially started, I was like, I don't know how to price this. So
Yeah.
really what I did was just go off pricing of girls in Utah. And I kind of went off that, but I started lower. Initially, I offered like an introductory pricing for models that I was kind of practicing on.
Yeah.
And from there, pretty much when I start hearing from clients, oh, you should be charging more, then I up my prices
It's
a little
time.
bit. Yeah. And so now I've been hearing that a little bit more too.
And then they're like,
Great.
I'm just kidding. I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. They're like, I'm like,
Not
why
for
are
me.
you
I was just
telling me
saying
that?
that.
Yeah.
Don't actually
But they're
do
like,
it.
oh, you should be charging more. Like, and not from, I'm not saying that like conceited or anything, but
Yeah.
they'll start telling me that. Like maybe they just feel like it's so worth it.
Yeah.
And I hear that the most from moms of young girls, like for their first piercing experience. Like they usually do so
So how much
well.
does that charge someone? Like their first experience?
So a set of lobes for a child between the ages of 4 and 11 is $80.
Okay. Wow.
And that includes the jewelry.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a huge selection of jewelry. But even if I were to up that price, I don't think there would be any issue
Yeah.
because, I mean, I don't want to rip anybody off by any means, but I don't think there would be any issue because everybody's like, well, I didn't want to take my daughter to the mall, but I didn't really want to take her into a tattoo shop only because that can be kind of scary for a little girl to go into this environment and be like, where am I? They're not going to feel comfortable with some guy or girl in that setting.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Most
Just
likely.
the setting.
Scary
Yes.
atmosphere for a kid.
Yeah. For us, I mean, there are adults
can
that
be
don't
intimidating
feel comfortable.
sometimes.
Yeah. But like for us, normally you'd be like, okay, well, whatever. I'm only here for a minute. A
Yeah.
kid, their first
Little
emotion is
scared.
going to be scary. They're scared.
How was it at
It's
Claire's?
so nice. Yeah. They're,
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen, they're just
teenager?
like teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not as
Teenagers,
comforting or knowledgeable as
not
you
as-
are, though.
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of times those little guns get stuck. They'll
Oh
shoot
my
it
God.
in
You kinda
there,
have to, like,
and they're
rip it
kind of like
open?
ripping it out.
That's like
and
my
yeah.
freak story.
Yes.
That- yeah.
So then they're freaked out, and it's just not a good.
So how much does it
experience.
cost to get your ears pierced at Claire's before any like hospital bills from infections and whatever else you're
Before
gonna
you have to go to
happen?
the doctor to get it removed.
Yeah, I
Before those
wonder.
bills, how much does that cost?
I honestly don't know. I've seen advertisements that they've done that say like free ear piercing.
Yeah. 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 With the earrings.
Yes, but you buy the earrings and you're probably paying $80 for the earrings anyways. The difference between those earrings and the earrings that I use, the earrings I use are implant grade titanium. So that's like what you They
Spaceship
make
metal.
Yes. They make artificial hips out of, knees out of, dental implants.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's what's called biocompatible, meaning that it works with the body. So the body's not going to reject it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Versus something like surgical steel or just like some kind of cheap metal. I don't know what they use for their earrings, but most people have issues unless they use the 24 karat
Right,
gold.
like with that cheap silver
Yeah,
too.
you have to buy the
doesn't that-
nicest ones
Yes.
with those because
Yes.
it hurts after.
Yeah. So that's one big issue there. So I don't exactly know. I need to look into how they do their pricing, but
Regardless, it sounds like yours is the better deal though. Just
I
from-
think so. And I'm about to roll out a children's piercing package. So this is a new thing. So it's going to be $95 instead, but it's going to come with the piercing, the earrings, aftercare spray, and a little certificate of achievement that they can
cute.
have. So just kind of a cute little
Yeah, an experience.
Yes, a cute little experience. I mean, because they're $90 if they buy the spray anyway. So it's just kind of a cute little package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that kind of makes it fun for them to like have a little certificate and stickers and stuff
Yeah.
after.
Are you
So-
seeing mainly children coming in, or is it a lot of adults?
I'm mainly adults.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was there on Tuesday, I pierced like 6 little girls for the first time. So that my schedule that day was really full of little girls. So it's kind of, it varies. I would say probably 40% kids, 60% adults. So still a high percent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
How often do you get male customers?
Not that often.
Oh, I was going to say we should have pierced my ear today.
Time to
We
pierce
should
Dan's
have-
ear.
we should have
live
Next
on the
podcast, we'll
Yeah.
come to your place.
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, come in. We'll do it instructional.
Uh-huh.
Show people.
And I'll
this-
get my cartilage pierced.
Yes. Yes. I've probably done maybe 5 or 6 in the whole year I've been doing it. Yeah.
Wow.
Not a lot.
I could use some hoops.
You have to pierce the stud first, but we could change it to hoops later. But
Sleeping
I
with a
will
hoop.
say the guys are the ones that tend to pass out, like almost pass out every time.
Yeah, I probably
Like-
wouldn't be your toughest client.
Yeah. The guys are like, they get so woozy. I don't know why. It's the weirdest thing.
I believe it.
I'm like, and this is why women give birth.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So not
I
a
won't
lot.
argue on that one.
Not a lot of
He
men.
saw it. He was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, everyone was right. Yeah, guys.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, guys can't do anything. Women rule the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about your social media and
Yes.
your marketing, and then kind of about your giveaways. How do you think you like leverage it the most? It's just like finding a lot of new people,
Like leverage my social media
Yeah.
to like,
get more customers,
get customers, yeah.
and yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and which is something I haven't done as much of because I've been so busy, is usually in the past, every single day that I worked, I pretty much would take pictures of everybody that I pierced and just like label every piercing and post that one right after another.
Yeah.
And people love that because then they'll screenshot them and come into me and be like, I want this. So they love that because they can see like the jewelry I have, they see the piercing placement,
Yeah.
and they want that. So they want to come to me because they know that I can do that.
Literally
that they
this.
want. Yes.
Yeah. And you do that
So
on
that's one thing.
stories? Or
Yes,
is it like
usually on
posts
stories.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like the majority of the stuff that you're doing is meant to be more like a cuter piercing.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
And not that like giant face piercings aren't cute.
Yeah.
But like, would you do clients if they came to you just for your knowledge and experience? If they were like, I need a big ring
A
in my
septum?
nose, or like just crazy stuff, you don't do that?
I do nostril,
Okay.
but I don't do septum.
Just for the customers out there who are listening. you know.
well, they probably wouldn't want me to because I'm not trained in it anyway. So,
So it's like a
Right.
whole different thing
it'd
to
be a
do.
whole, yeah, I'd have to go get trained in it. But also,
I see.
I think just from a liability standpoint, my liability insurance, I think, would go up quite a bit if you are moving into more body piercing.
I see.
Gotcha.
Because mine insurance that I have right now just covers ears and nostril. I think when you start getting into other body piercing, you know, belly buttons, eyebrow, septum, like oral piercings and more.
Yeah.
Just keep going
Yes,
down.
Just
Another
keep
body.
going down, yeah. It's just a higher liability. And it's not that even though I personally wouldn't get most of those piercings, I would still be willing to perform them if I knew and it wasn't a huge liability.
Mm-hmm.
But then also I'm like, okay, but that's like the tattoo shop niche.
Yeah, there you
know
go.
what I mean?
Go
I
to
mean,
the
they
tattoo shop for
do
that
that.
one. Yeah.
They love that. And So they can
that's
go there.
a good point. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, yeah. But yes, I mean, my stuff is definitely cuter. I guess you would say more dainty. People use the word dainty to describe it a lot versus like gaudy, very like big ball silver jewelry.
Okay.
Yeah, all
From
those
the-
adjectives you just described scare me thinking of piercings.
Yes.
So-
Yes. So you want a dainty, cute, you want a dainty, feminine
yeah.
piercing.
Yeah.
People don't want to go into the tattoo shop, get really ugly jewelry, and then have to wait 6 to 12 months to even change that to something that is cute.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that because then that takes the excitement out of it.
Yeah.
It does.
And we want things now, right? We don't like to wait.
That's why we're doing it right now.
Yes. We want it right now. We want it to be cute right now.
Yeah.
So
So this might be a stupid question, but after you get a piercing, is there any downtime? Or if you got a piercing like in the afternoon, are you good that next day? Or are you going to have a puffy ear?
it totally depends. Ear lobes are the easiest to heal. Do you have any cartilage piercings?
No, I've wanted some. So
We
it was
should
like
do
back.
some.
I might have to go back
Yeah.
to getting some
Yeah.
piercings because I have like 2 and a 1. Because I told
Okay.
you about my one botched. So I
Yes.
got another one above it to try and make it seem like even.
Yes.
And then I kind of like gave up after that.
Well, we should do some and
We
I'll
might
show
have
you a
to.
better experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
complained about that being uneven for so
I know
long.
it's like
We
my
could
big
re-pierce
thing. Maybe.
Like maybe. I do a lot of corrections.
I've seen you post a few corrections,
Yeah.
but then I debate just like styling it in more. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see.
can do that.
Okay,
But
anyway.
yes, to answer your question, cartilage ones are definitely more tender and more sore for longer. And you're not going to be like in this throbbing amount of pain. So there's no downtime really. But so some piercings, depending on where they are in the ear, you're not going to be able to wear AirPods for a little while. So that's one thing that I warn people if they're going to get like a tragus or a conch piercing for a little while, you may
Right.
not be able to wear AirPods. And that's from an infection standpoint. And when you initially get pierced, the jewelry is longer to accommodate swelling.
Yeah.
And so on a tragus specifically, right, that's right where your AirPods go in. So
Yeah.
you can't wear AirPods until your jewelry's smaller. So I guess there's downtime for certain things you can't do.
I assume you can't swim.
You can't swim.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a
You can't
tattoo
swim.
kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, ideally it'd be 30 days before you swim, but at
Wow.
least a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You're the most susceptible to infection in the first 2 weeks. So you really kind of want to baby it during that time. So
What do you do if it gets infected? You just take the earring out and just put on antibiotic and
that is like what people used to do all the time. They'd be like, oh my gosh, my earring's infected. Just take it out. There's so many things that we can do, a lot of steps that I follow if there is an infection. As a piercer, and I'm not a medical professional, I can't diagnose infection, right? So to actually say it's infected, like I can't do that.
Yeah.
it's red and puffy and oozing.
Then yes, like it is, but like I can't tell them that like
Yeah.
legally,
Gotcha.
or I don't know if it's legally, but just like from
As
a
your
liability
opinion,
standpoint,
yeah.
yeah, I can't say it's infected.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of things. It'd be really swollen. So I put in a longer earring to accommodate more swelling. The aftercare spray that I use and give to clients, it's antimicrobial, but it won't kill healthy cells. So it's not going to kill the cells that are healing the area, but it's naturally an anti-inflammatory. So it's going to bring down the swelling. It's going to kill all bacteria and viruses. So help that way. Sometimes people have had to get on antibiotics, so like oral antibiotics and
Oh, wow.
topical.
Yeah.
If they
They
got
probably went swimming.
probably but I mean the most common cause of infection is just touching it
Yeah.
with your hands.
Which is
Twiddling
probably
around with it,
you
messing
just
with
do
it.
subconsciously, not even thinking about
touch
it.
it and that bacteria gets into, it's an open wound, it's a fresh wound. Up to 30% of cartilage piercings will get a minor infection in the first few weeks.
Is that what causes is it keloids? What is that?
Yeah,
the
those
thing-
bumps, those keloids.
Is that what keloids
That's not
are?
what causes it though.
Okay.
Keloids are an overproduction of scar tissue, and
Okay.
keloids you actually won't see for like 4 to even up to 12 months after a piercing. So that's going to be a long time after. But there are piercing bumps that people get confused between piercing bumps and keloids. And piercing bumps is an overproduction of granulation tissue or all these cells that are coming to heal the area, but an overproduction of those. So you can get a little bump there. Those are
Okay.
reversible. Those go away. It's just in response to the body's healing.
Yeah.
Keloids, on the other hand, are not reversible.
Yeah.
You have to go to a dermatologist, usually get like a steroid injection.
And aren't they like tender? Don't they kind of hurt?
Yeah, I think so.
I had a coworker that had one. I remember she was always like, like,
it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, because she had gotten like a cartilage piercing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody with a true keloid yet. So that's
Great.
good. But
Great.
people
Knock
have
on
said
wood.
that they've had them in the past. But
Okay.
Is that something that gets drained, or is it like a hard?
it's hard. Yeah. So they'll inject steroid into it to get it to shrink down. Sometimes they have to be removed like with lasers.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yeah. They're not super common. They're
Yeah.
not very common. Yeah.
That's good to know. I really
Yeah.
thought they were more common. Maybe I've seen too many people
Yes.
with keloids.
So people are like, oh, I got a keloid, but it was probably a piercing bump.
Yeah.
And so there's just a difference between the two, but
see.
nobody knows that. I
Yeah.
never knew that. I just assume any bump would be a keloid
Yeah.
on somebody's ear before I did piercings. So
You would never know. Well, now
Yeah.
everyone will know.
they will know.
Earlier, before we hit record, we were talking about when you got started with your
Yes.
husband and
Yes.
his business
Yes.
and how you wouldn't have started your business without that whole experience.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that. What year was, it was 2021. So it was like the year before I started my business. My husband and I started a different business where we rent out big roll-off dumpsters to people that are they're like big construction dumpsters pretty much if they're doing like home clean out, stuff like that.
Like the giant blue
Yes.
steel ones. Okay.
And so we started that. And so I had firsthand experience starting up a business, which to start up a business is a scary thing. Like you can look on Google and like see what to do, but
There's 1,000
there's
lists of
1,000
things to
lists.
do.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
Yes. So doing that firsthand, learning from that, trial and error with that really made me feel confident that when I found piercing and I was like, I want to do that, I didn't even hesitate from the business side of it. I was like, oh, I can do that. I know I can do that. But I don't think that I would have been confident in that if I wouldn't have done it before in
Yeah.
the past.
So you think it was that just experience of doing it and it was a success?
Absolutely.
And that's what made you be like, you could do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because how many businesses don't start because like the owner or the person is too
The
scared.
idea.
The idea, it's too scary. Like the idea
Yeah.
is too scary. The owner's way too scared to put themselves out there because it is scary.
It is scary.
Like I remember pushing post when I announced it and I was like,
Cover your face.
Yes.
Throw your phone.
yes. And I was like, this could fail miserably. People might be like, wow, what is this girl trying to do? And I definitely felt that. So I think that would have been like 100 times worse if I hadn't already started a business.
Yeah.
So
Felt the imposter syndrome and like got
I,
through it.
I did feel that imposter syndrome for sure. Because I'm like, listen, people, and I still even feel it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to be like this major influencer. You know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes because I feel imposter syndrome, I hold back a little
Yeah.
bit. Do you feel like that?
No, I
with
totally
your stuff?
understand.
Yeah,
For sure.
Like
Because
even,
I'm like, I'm going to annoy somebody. I'm just doing too much. It's just like,
even
it's
with
just not
this,
it.
like this is starting up, right? Your
Yeah.
podcast is starting up. So like how hard is it to feel that imposter syndrome where you're like, well, there's already these other podcasts that are huge.
There's a million podcasts.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's hard to like pull the trigger and be like, I'm going to put
It's
myself
scary.
out there. This could fail. But from a financial standpoint, it wasn't a huge investment. I mean, I think my course was like $2,500, which is still like a chunk of change. But I was like, okay, if I fail,
Like,
It's not the end of the
it's
world.
not the end of the world. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going bankrupt over this.
Yeah.
And
That does take a little pressure off.
it did. And my husband was so supportive. He was like, okay, well, if you want to do it, like go do it. But I think he thought it was just going to be like a little hobby. And then like it kind of exploded. And he was
So-
like, sweet.
Were you primarily working on the other business with your husband before you did
Yep.
this? Okay.
Yep. So I'd work dental hygiene 2 days a week and took care of my 3 kids. I think I was even I think not long after I actually went down to 1 day a week. So like the first 6-7 months of my business, I was still working hygiene and doing piercings. But so yes, I was working hygiene and then doing our other business. And I was doing everything for the business for the most part, aside from actually driving the dumpsters around because my husband was working full time at a different job. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
taking all the calls. I
Yeah.
was doing the billing.
It's a lot of work.
You're doing
Yes.
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Besides,
he was
like,
doing a lot too.
Yeah,
but like, yes,
but the day-to-day managing tasks.
Yes, is
like,
I was doing
yeah.
that, feeling super overwhelmed, like extremely overwhelmed. So then after this started taking off, and I was like, okay, I can make like a full-time income with this. He quit his full-time job to pursue our other business. And so that's taken so much stress off of me because he takes the calls now. I still help with stuff when I can, but he really has headed that up and it's helped so much.
Yeah. Especially with now two businesses, two full businesses.
Yes. Like I couldn't do both.
No.
That's a lot to manage. I mean,
It's
just
so much.
trying to stay ahead of schedule of one is hard.
Oh yeah. And then to interact with those customers and then like have to shift my brain when I would get messages about mine and then try to talk to them about like, any issues or questions or scheduling or whatever it may be. It was just a lot of, I'm in mom mode and now I'm in the dumpster mode and now I'm in piercing and I'm like taking care of my house. And,
if those are things you're managing from home,
much.
that's like that's a really big challenge to try to control yourself and be diligent about doing things when you need to do them and separating your time.
It was
Working
so bad.
from home means a different thing when you're a mom.
Completely different. And you know that.
You are working your ass off the whole time,
Or a
watching your
dad.
child or a dad.
Or a dad.
He's at home too.
Yeah.
And
Kyle is too now.
It's-
He
no.
knows. They know
Yeah,
now.
now
It's
it's like,
but you're like, it's really good for you to know. You need
I'm
that.
very aware.
You need that.
I can see that. I do hear stories of like how things were 20, 30 years ago, or even still how some guys are in relationships. And I'm just like, I feel so bad for that girl because
You see
just
how hard
that
it is.
mindset.
It
you
would
just-
be impossible.
Yeah.
They do it somehow, but like you're going to resent them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
You gotta
working
step
from
up,
home
man.
as a mom. Yes. Yes.
Step up.
Preach. But working from home as a mom, completely night and day difference versus going to dental hygiene, going
Oh,
there
yeah.
8 to 5,
check in and out.
come home, don't care about that until I go back. This is 24/7 and I try not to let it be consuming, but it's so hard to balance being a mom and doing that. And I think that's my biggest challenge. That is
Yes.
my biggest challenge, hands down,
I
with my
agree.
business. Hands down.
Yeah. Do you have like set office hours that you are away from home and like a schedule that you kind of like rely on every week for that consistency with your children? Because that's always so hard for us.
so hard.
Just, you like have a plan of I'm going to do this whole hour, get something done. And then that is completely blown. My child has
Exactly.
changed the
And
agenda.
it's a challenge
Exactly.
you can't use as an excuse with your business. I think
Yeah.
that's what's really
Yes.
hard too. Is to you it's a challenge, but to everyone else it's just an inconvenience. That
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
you can't do something
Yeah,
because
they don't care.
Exactly.
They're like,
I
why
hired
aren't
you
you
for
here?
this.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Exactly.
their
Yeah.
day's still moving on and their life still revolves
Yes.
around them. So it's like
I will say, my clients, though, if I've ever had to reschedule something, so I had to reschedule a couple on Tuesday for back to school night. And I just straight up told them, and most of my clients, they're so understanding if I ever have to. So I have the best clients. They're amazing and they're so understanding. But that versus dental hygiene, I could never reschedule. I mean, if I couldn't go to something,
You're out of luck.
I'm out of luck. That sucks. You have patience. So it's so nice to have my own thing that I can say, if I have to move something, I can.
Yeah.
But you don't want to. It's like when it's your own thing, you don't want to do
now
that.
I'm
if you
letting
don't-
myself in this
Yes.
business down,
Yes.
what I've been working for.
Yes. But
Yeah.
really, I mean, people don't see the
Like, as
behind the
negative.
scenes. Yes. But they don't see the behind the scenes of I'm doing all of these things to prepare for them to come in, but I'm being a mom at the same time. And it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yep.
Managing my mom guilt is very difficult.
Yeah.
And giving 100% to all the other relationships in my life that I don't want to, what's the word? I don't want to,
You just got to
what's the
cherish
word?
those
Like, I don't
friendships,
want
like-
them to
Yeah.
be on the back burner.
What's our
What's the
word?
word?
Cater, nurture.
Nurture. Yes. I want to
Nurture those
nurture those
friendships.
friendships and the relationships
Yeah.
because
It's important too. You can't
it's
lose
important. You make time for the things that are important for you, right?
that. For sure.
But 100%, hands down, my biggest challenge. It's not the business part. It's not like scheduling people. It's nothing to do with the actual piercing stuff. It's the behind the scenes being a mom working at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Which is the whole reason you started this entrepreneur journey in the first place, is to have more time
Exactly.
and be able to
Exactly.
spend that time. And
Exactly. And I do, when I have days off and there's something that I don't have to do, I really try to focus on not doing it. I don't message people back right away unless it was an emergency. But I have to tell myself, I have to focus on my kids, not social media during set times.
For sure.
So as far as scheduling, I would say more so I schedule when I can be on my phone doing stuff, you know, creating a post, posting, messaging people back. And then I, of course, have my set times in the week. I usually go in like 2 days a week to do actual piercings. So those are set times. And then usually we try to make it so my husband has the kids when I do that. So
that works out then.
Yes.
To partner, work through this. Like that was one of our biggest things was because we were in a full-time job.
Yeah.
And we were in retail. So it wasn't like a 9 to 5. It could be like 1 to 10 p.m. or it could be like, you know, just crazy hours where it was just unrealistic. And just not having the freedom to make like appointments or hang out with friends or like,
Exactly.
I don't know. It's just so nice having the freedom, even though
That's
we
the
are
biggest thing.
so much more busy and I have more stress on me.
More stress.
But it's like more free at the same time.
Yes, it's
of
like
my life.
liberating.
I'm
It's like a
living my
good,
life.
it's a motivating stress.
It's a motivating.
So it's different
Yes.
than just stress.
Yes, that's exactly
From,
how
like,
I
fear.
would. That's exactly how I would describe it. I always felt stress going into my 9 to 5 job. I felt stressed, but that was like a very negative stress. The stress that I feel right now is definitely motivating
Yeah.
because I'm like, I can do this. I'm stressed because I have to do XYZ, but I want to do that. So that is 100%. Like it's very liberating because you're like, I'm in charge. I'm doing this. I want to do this. I want this stress. And
you're doing what you want to do.
Yes.
Like that's the whole thing. I will do what I want to do all day. And
Yep.
if that's in my job, great. Bonus for me, I guess.
But do you get mom guilt?
Oh, for sure.
Do you get negativity from others in your life, or do you feel like everybody's very supportive?
I think everybody's really supportive. It's definitely me putting the guilt on myself.
Yeah.
It'll be like we will sneak out of the house to try and go do shoots or come to the studio and whatnot. And I have my mom watching our child. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just gone for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm so upset. And I'm like, that was only 3
I know.
hours.
You're like, she's
People
fine. She
do
probably
this
didn't
for
even know you
8
were
to 9
gone.
hours
Just
a
kidding.
day. No,
Yeah.
literally. So it's me putting it on myself. And then I'll notice in the evenings, like if I'm trying to catch up on work, like we're doing editing, we're doing like, you know, kind of computer stuff where I have to sit there for hours. And she's like playing around, like, hang out with me. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And it's those moments where it's like, how do I need to break it off? I still need to get my work done, but
But
my
that's what makes
child's
you a good
here.
mom,
Yeah.
is
So
you
it's
care.
like we gotta stop and
Totally.
make child time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting at the computer and she runs up and she's like, Dad, and holds her blanket. It's just like, all right, turn it off and go play. Like, not even going to say in 5 minutes, like we're just going to go now, just going to do it.
And see, that's
it's like,
balancing. How good is that? Like,
but it feels good. And in that moment when I have to like leave the work, I'm like, there's still that little piece of me that's like, oh, I kind of want to do this. But the second I get away and I'm with her and you're having fun and then she goes down an hour later for a nap, you're like, that was so worth that 45 minutes, an hour that I spent with her. And I'm so glad I didn't just go give her to grandma or like, you know, let her play by herself. Like it's always worth it.
So but it's the balancing act. That's
For
like
sure.
the biggest thing is balancing. But on the other hand too, I mean, how beneficial is it for a child to see their parents working? I think it's so, you know, like,
she seems like
it's so good for them to see that you're working and working towards something that you want to do. And she's really young, so she doesn't notice that. But I grew up with a mom who always worked.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, there was never a question of like, I would never have a job. Like I would never go get a career, like do something. Like I always just assumed because I saw my mom work that I would work.
Yeah.
And there's no problem with like somebody that doesn't want to work or has no interest in working. But that's what brings me fulfillment is working. And I love to work. I love to get out of the house. I feel like it makes me a better mom to get out of the house. Don't you think? To like have something that's for you and you're not just a mom.
For sure. For sure.
And not everybody's like that. Some people are completely fulfilled being just a mom.
Yeah.
But for me, I need a little bit.
Yeah.
I need a little bit.
Because it's like once you
different.
had your child, your whole life changed.
Yes.
And like It's good.
Yes.
And it's bad, but like it's good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just that whole adjustment of learning the new you. And it is kind of fun going back to these things that you like used to love and have an
Yeah.
enjoyment for. And like,
Because you lose
bring
yourself.
that passion. No, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you 100% do a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it is nice. It's exciting.
Yeah.
That fulfillment in
Exactly.
yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really cool.
It's all a journey.
It is. It is. It has nothing to do with business either. But what we were talking about, what was the stat that it was it dads of our generation are already spending like 30-40% more time with their children than like our
Really?
dads above us.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons that Kyle, my husband, his goal was to quit his 9-to-5 job, was to spend more time with our kids and say, you know, he would have 40 hours of paid time off left in his little bank. And that was a stress for him because he's like, I can't
Right.
leave. I can't leave. If we want to go on a week-long vacation, we can do that now. And he just wants to be able to spend time with our kids.
That's what's
like
important right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get that. I totally see that. I think that dads for sure are stepping up more than in the past, and maybe not necessarily stepping up more, but they're having the option to, because whether it's starting a business or they're working from home a little bit and they have a little bit more time with their kids.
Yeah.
Just lots of different factors.
Maybe the career paths have just changed.
yes.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And the focuses.
It's allowed for more flexibility and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
be more entrepreneurial if you're willing
Yes.
to take that jump.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not for everybody, obviously, but
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. But what's something you wish someone had told you at the beginning?
To not care what other people think, because sometimes I feel like I hold myself back. Did I already say this earlier? I don't remember,
We
but
kinda talked a
sometimes
little bit.
Sometimes I feel like I hold myself back because I'm worried about what other people are going to think that are in like my, you know, social ring already. So I would say, don't care about what people think. If it's something you want to do, do it. I'm not going to tell somebody to not be scared of failure because
It's going to happen.
you're
Yeah.
going to be scared to fail. But if it's something you want to do it, because I think failing at something you want to do is better than regretting not trying it. Because if I would have never tried something, I think I would have just thought, well, what if I did that? Forever. And
Yeah.
I would be so sad because no matter what, somebody else is going to do it. So then
Yeah.
you're going to look at that person and be like, that could have been me. I could have started that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say don't be scared, but unless you're going to go into like financial ruin, like you should just try it. If you're going to go into financial ruin, if you fail, maybe like make sure you're not going to fail.
Double check your business plan.
Double check your business plan. But I think that you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just pull the trigger and you just do it. And you have to work your butt off.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that very good advice?
No, I think that's good. That's great advice. I feel like
It could sound cliche, but I think it's
does
dead.
sound
It's
cliche.
dead on honest advice that I think is really
sounds
useful.
cliche.
I think it might sound cliche to someone who maybe hasn't taken that leap, but to someone
Yeah.
who has, or anyone that has,
Yeah.
they would understand that advice and like fully get it. Because I remember before opening this, and I've definitely heard that advice before.
Yeah.
And it didn't click the same way that it clicks now.
Now, okay.
It's just, it makes
I
sense
agree.
now.
So it makes
that-
sense now with somebody who's already a business owner. So somebody that's not a business owner, what would be the best advice for
Well,
them?
no, I still think it's good
still?
advice. I just think it's not as much of like tested knowledge for them. It's more just,
Okay, yes,
the
exactly.
impactfulness
Yes.
of like,
whereas it's tested knowledge for you. You've done it, you know it, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't yet.
And they'll start and then they'll be like, oh yeah,
I
now
see what
see
you're
that.
saying.
Yes.
That wasn't just
Yeah.
like cliche motivationals. Actually,
Yeah. That's like really what I mean.
It's the
Like
truth.
do it. Just do it. Don't be scared of what other people are going to think.
yeah.
And I don't know, work your butt off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on our
Yeah,
podcast
it was
today.
so much fun.
We are still new in our podcast, so I appreciate you giving us a chance to
Yeah.
come and
Oh,
chat
I
with
would
us.
never say no to
We'll
this.
have to do it again in a couple months.
Yeah, when
Oh,
I get my
when
ear
we're
pierced.
better.
When
Oh,
you-
yeah, with the ear
yes.
piercing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Yeah, that would be so fun.
Yeah,
So
be great. Well,
that's cool.
Yeah.
thanks for coming,
You're
Lauren.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
We'll see everybody later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.